All right, so moving on to the final segment, we're going to pivot over here to the world of boxing. In the final segment today, I'll be sharing my thoughts on Gervonta Davis's career and Gervonta Davis's resume. If it all ends today, would Gervonta Davis be a future boxing Hall of Famer? So to answer that question, if it all ends today, if Gervonta Davis retires after this Jake Paul exhibition fight that takes place in November, I think Gervonta Davis would not be eligible to be a boxing Hall of Famer. Now, I think Tank Davis's career would be incomplete to make the boxing Hall of Fame. And honestly, right now, he's having a good pro career. 30-0, 30 victories, 0 losses, 1 draw, 28 victories come away of knockouts, several division world champion. Snatching several undefeated records is impressive, but his resume right now has to be a solid B minus. Now, you cannot get in the Hall of Fame in boxing without fighting the best or defeating the best talent around your age or your weight class, especially the guys that you came up in weight with and grew in the sport of boxing with. Cats you grew up with, like Shakur Stevenson, that's been a part of your training camp and you spar. Devin Haney, that you grew up with, has been a part of your training camp and spar. Teofimo Lopez, been a part of your training camp and spar. Keyshawn Davis, same thing. You can't get away with not fighting the best of your era, not unifying titles, or becoming undisputed and thinking that Gervonta Davis is good enough to make the Boxing Hall of Fame, which he's not. And as much as I love him, that's a B minus resume. And the talent that he's beaten, if you think about it, guys, his biggest victory up to date is Ryan Garcia. Or if you don't want to go that route, his biggest victory up to date is against Rolly Romero. And this is a true Gervonta Davis fan talking. But if you're not going to defeat the guys that you grew up with in the sport, defeat these guys in the prime of their careers, fighting them at the best, and you're similar in weight with most of these guys that I named and mentioned, and you've been in the weight classes with these guys. Tio was at 135. Devin was at 135 at one point. Keyshawn was at 135 at one point. Shakur is still sitting right in your face at 135. We're at an easy title unification up for grabs with one of your biggest paydays in the sport in your career. But you can't make someone that doesn't want it in a legacy way fight the best of the best. And for Tank, it's frustrating being a fan of him at times because, yes, it's exciting to see the knockouts. Yes, it's exciting to see a box office attraction coming from Baltimore to become this box office attraction, one of the biggest stars that the sport has to offer globally. Has all the skills, all the talent in the world to take over the sport. Great boxing IQ, great counter puncher, speed, agility, athleticism, great footwork, knockout power. And he has great boxing abilities. It's just not all knockout power. Someone that has it all put together and can make adjustments in between rounds. This would be somebody that could easily be knocking at the door to be a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter if he truly believed in his heart that he could beat those guys that I just mentioned. But as time went on, I'm not saying Tank doesn't believe in himself, but his inner circle didn't believe in himself. His inner circle, I should say, didn't believe in Tank. Because who did he get the blueprint from? Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather cherry-picked each opponent as Tank was climbing up and up and up to be a box office attraction in sport. Never put him in there with Lomachenko. Never put him in there with Devin. Never put him in there with Tio. Never put him in a ring of fire for Tank to possibly be exposed. And Gervonta has to overcome some adversity. And I've seen Tank overcome adversity, I want to say 3 times in his career. I want to say he did it against Mario Barrios. Came out successful. Lost the first half of the fight. And then came back in the second half. Rallied back, scored 3 knockdowns. Ended up winning by knockout. Climbing up a weight class to defeat an undefeated fighter, Mario Barrios. I seen Gervonta Davis overcome adversity when he fought Pitbull Cruz with one hand in the second half of the fight. Still closed out the fight. Won that fight by decision. And then the third time, when I seen him battling with his back against the wall against Lamont Roach, yes, the fight was close. Yes, the fight was competitive. But instead of giving Lamont Roach a rematch, you go on and fight a YouTuber instead in Jake Paul. So, again, guys, does anything that I just said really make Gervonta Davis a Hall of Famer? No. He has a good, impressive record. 30 victories, 0 losses, 1 draw, 28 victories come away of knockout, over 90% knockout ratio in his boxing career. But again, in order to be the Hall of Famer, you got to be an all-time great, one of the best of your generations. You got to defeat the best talent around you and your age of your generation, unify some titles, possibly become undisputed. Gervonta Davis has no aspirations of doing that. And in Tank's eyes, he's an all-time great to himself. I'm not taking anything away from Tank. I love Tank. Thinking of his story, coming from the hood of Baltimore, being bounced around from foster home to foster home, that's a great story for anybody, any athlete, to be a box office attraction, make millions of dollars, be the cash cow that people are chasing to fight. The thing is, all these all-time greats, when they were the cash cows, eventually gave in to their oppositions and gave them payday. Whether they came up short or not, that's how you define how great you are and who is the best at these divisions. Right now, I can't say that about Tank. Right now, Gervonta is holding that 135 WBA title hostage. Right now, Gervonta, instead of fighting his toughest opponent up to date in Lamont Roach, giving him that really well-deserved rematch, tucked his tail and fought a YouTuber in Jake Paul, who is 4 times the size of Tank, and there is a weight limit of 195 pounds, and this is an exhibition fight. And you're wasting your prime years on Jake Paul. If you're getting a bag that's sounding around 40 to 50 million for this fight, good, so be it. But he's already told you guys on Twitter, as he crashed out again, that he's ready to leave the sport in 7 to 8 weeks. He's retiring. We possibly never might see these fights with Shakur, Devin, Tio, Keyshawn, a rematch with Lamont Roach. It's unfortunate. And he learned from the blueprint of Floyd Mayweather. He learned from him. He learned, get your money, do things how you want to do it, and get out of the game. They're not together anymore as a team, but Gervonta learned early from one of the greatest of all time and one of the smartest businessmen in boxing history in Floyd Mayweather, how to get the money, do it your way, to get out of the sport when you're ready. I love me some Gervonta Davis. The truth be told, guys, he is not going to be a Hall of Famer if he walks away after this Jake Paul exhibition without fighting these guys, without getting more world titles, unifying titles at this 135-pound division, becoming undisputed. It's just going to be an incomplete resume, or incomplete career, and could be one of the biggest what-ifs if Gervonta Davis truly hangs it up in the prime of his career, walking away instead of fighting the best oppositions and possibly being known as a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter with all the skills, all the talent in the world. I think it's an incomplete career, and that leaves me with Gervonta Davis not being a Hall of Famer if it all ends today. But that's all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.